At dinner, my husband poisoned me and our son for inheritance, but I recorded calls, exposed a affair, and sent him to prison. The gentle early summer sunlight enveloped the quiet residential area in the Boston suburbs. In my White House facing Commonwealth Avenue, I was rushing through my morning preparations. The light streaming through the kitchen window gleamed brilliantly on the polished counter. "Mom, is Dad coming to my game today?" Nathan asked while adjusting his uniform collar. His innocent eyes made me hesitate for a moment. Andrew, my husband, had been attending fewer of our son's baseball games lately. "Well, Dad seems to be busy," I replied vaguely while packing sandwiches in our son's lunchbox. Nathan is 8 years old, but he has grown into such a thoughtful, kind child, more mature than you would expect from a second grader. He is especially good at math and often receives praise from his teachers. On his baseball team, he is well liked by his teammates. Our mornings at home always start at 7 o'clock. I prepare breakfast and send Nathan off to school at 8 o'clock. Then, from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I spend my time at my flower shop, blooming days. My husband used to return home by 7 o'clock in the evening, but lately he has been coming home later and later. While opening the flower shop shutters, I found myself remembering our first meeting 10 years ago. It was right here that I first met Andrew. He had come to order flowers for his twin brother James's hospital opening celebration. He was a businessman in a perfectly pressed suit, giving off a meticulous impression. I still remember the moment he smiled while looking at the white Casablanca lilies, saying, "My brother loves pure white flowers." 3 months later, we decided to get married. Back then, Andrew was earnestly working as a promising partner at a local major accounting firm, Mitchell & Associates. The first 5 years after our marriage were filled with incomparable happiness. Nathan's birth deepened our bond even further. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, was genuinely delighted with our marriage. We always had Sunday family dinners together, enjoying wonderful times with James joining us. James, working as an emergency physician at Boston General Hospital, doted on his nephew Nathan as if he were his own son. Despite being twin brothers, James and Andrew had opposite personalities. James was more emotionally expressive and family-oriented, while Andrew was meticulous and sometimes almost too level-headed. However, everything began to change 6 months ago when Eleanor passed away. An invisible rift formed between the brothers over the inheritance, and family gatherings became less frequent. Andrew said work was getting busier, and his return time gradually got later. He started working more on holidays too, and time with family definitely decreased. Our weekends changed dramatically as well. He began missing our son's baseball games, which he had never skipped before, and family meals became rare. Through all this, only James continued to watch Nathan's games with us, supporting us with his unchanging kindness. While preparing to open the flower shop, I gazed at the colorful flowers arranged throughout the store. After graduating college, opening this flower shop had been my dream. Adding flower meanings to help deliver customers precious feelings, that was my pride. While doing flower arrangements, I suddenly realized something. The days when Andrew would compliment me, saying, "Your bouquet days are like magic," now feel like distant memories. I felt something off about Andrew, who seemed to be playing the role of a perfect husband and father on the surface. I had always known about his show-off personality and taste for luxury, but lately these tendencies seemed to be getting stronger. The pure white petals of the Casablanca lilies displayed at the storefront sparkled in the morning light. Wednesday's flower procurement is my important routine. After buying groceries at Whole Foods Market, I stop by the Boston Flower Market. Seeing the fresh flowers always helps me feel at peace. While making flower meaning cards for Nathan, I think about his growth. Recently, he started remembering flower names and occasionally helps out at the store. Mrs. Wilson from Sacred Heart Church always praises his adorable customer service whenever she visits. He attends Sunday school at church and seems to have fun surrounded by many friends. Baseball practice at Cold Spring Park on Saturday mornings. Nathan is the first to grab his glove and start playing catch with James. Andrew used to join them too. Recently, he is always dressed in luxury brand suits and never puts down his mobile phone, even on holidays. He rarely shows up at Ward Elementary School parent meetings anymore. Looking at the tree-lined Commonwealth Avenue, I let out a deep sigh. My wedding ring sparkled in the morning sun. Our story, which began through these flowers 10 years ago, was about to take a new turn. Boston College's clock tower struck 8 o'clock in the distance. At this moment, we had no way of knowing about the terrible fate awaiting our family. Yesterday was Saturday, normally a day when we would watch our son's baseball game as a family. The sun was high from the morning, and a refreshing breeze swept through Cold Spring Park grounds. However, that morning Andrew unusually announced he would cancel all weekend plans. "Sorry, I have to review some important documents today. I will definitely come to the next game." Nathan showed a slightly lonely expression but simply answered, "Okay." Lately our son seemed to be learning to accept his father's absence. Seeing this broke my heart. Andrew holed up in his study, facing documents all day. Though he was always meticulous by nature, this day he seemed unusually nervous. He never let go of his mobile phone, and occasionally I could hear him speaking quietly with someone. He even refused lunch, saying, "I will eat later," and did not open the door until evening. That night, concerned about my husband's behavior, I stopped in front of his study. I could hear his mobile phone conversation from inside. "Yes, everything is going smoothly. I have prepared everything perfectly for tomorrow." There was a coldness in his voice that I had never felt from my husband before. And when I woke up this morning, the aroma of coffee was wafting from the kitchen. Surprisingly, Andrew was preparing breakfast. "Good morning, Kate." My husband smiled at me with a gentler tone than usual. On the table were freshly baked croissants and scrambled eggs. It was as if yesterday's puzzling behavior had been a lie. "I will make a special dinner tonight. I haven't been able to spend much time with the family lately because of work." Nathan's face lit up at those words. "Wow, Dad's cooking." After breakfast, I started the flower shop's business as usual. With the changing season, I needed to update the store's displays. While creating arrangements, highlighting the vibrant colors of hydrangeas, I was fighting an unsettling feeling. Around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I received a message from Andrew. "I will be home at 7 o'clock tonight. Look forward to it." A message that would normally warm my heart felt strangely unnatural today. It was abnormal for my husband to say he would cook in the first place. In our 10 years of marriage, he had only been in the kitchen a handful of times. At 6:30 o'clock in the evening, I went to pick up Nathan. My son, finished with his after-school program at Ward Elementary School, was in an even better mood than usual. He kept asking, "Mom, is Dad really going to cook for us?" When we arrived home, warm light was seeping from the entrance. The living room chandelier was softly glowing, and an unfamiliar, expensive-looking tablecloth was spread on the table. The dishes we had just bought from Pottery Barn were carefully set out. From the kitchen came the aroma of New England clam chowder. Homemade focaccia seemed to be baking as well. And yet, why this abnormal perfection stirred up my anxiety. Andrew's behavior was somehow different from usual too. He used the knife with unfamiliar movements, occasionally checking the recipe. Though his expression seemed peaceful, there was obvious tension in his gestures. What particularly concerned me was his habit of checking the clock every 3 minutes. "It will be ready in about 30 minutes. Saying this, he picked up his smartphone again. His expression tensed for just a moment at some message that had arrived on the screen. While helping with our son's homework, I observed my husband's movements in the kitchen. The sound of putting down the knife, stirring the pot, checking the oven temperature, everything, felt unnaturally careful and calculated. "Mom, Dad's soup smells delicious," Nathan said with an innocent smile. At that moment, a chill ran down my spine. My intuition told me that some terrible intention was hidden behind these overly perfect dinner preparations. On the dining table, the candlelight flickered quietly. The steam rising from Andrew's New England clam chowder created a fantastical scene in the warm lighting. The homemade focaccia had a perfect golden color, and the salad made with local vegetables was visually stunning. "Please have a seat." There was a strain in Andrew's voice. The soup poured into the expensive Pottery Barn dishes looked just like something from a restaurant. Why would my husband, who had always been distant from cooking, prepare such an elaborate meal? That sense of incongruity unsettled my heart. "Wow, amazing, I cannot believe Dad made this." Nathan sat at the table with an innocent smile. Boston College's old clock announced 7:15. Today is a special day after all. As Andrew smiled saying this, I felt a momentary glimpse of the old gentleness I remembered, just like how he was when we met 10 years ago. However, something lurking behind that smile triggered my intuition. The spoon touched the soup, a warm saltiness spread through my mouth. It was definitely skillfully made, and yet this perfection only heightened my anxiety. "Hey, Dad, did you really make this yourself?" "Yes, following the recipe. Do you like it?" The conversation seemed to flow naturally. However, I noticed Andrew's left hand unconsciously touching his smartphone. It was about 10 minutes after we started eating when I first noticed something was wrong. Nathan was the first to sense it. "Mom, I feel sick." My son's voice was trembling. Right after that, I was hit with severe dizziness. My vision began to distort, and the sensation in my limbs started to dull. "Nathan!" The moment I tried to stand up, my knees gave out. I fell to my knees on the living room floor and lay there. Right next to me, Nathan had fallen in the same way. "Dad, help!" My son's pleading voice. However, Andrew did not even stand up. Rather, he seemed to be watching calmly. There was no longer a trace of warmth in his expression. I was still conscious, but instinctively closed my eyes and pretended to be unconscious. Nathan seemed to be copying me. My smart son might have intuitively understood the abnormality of the situation. At that moment, Andrew's mobile phone rang. "Yes, it is done. They will both be gone soon," a matter-of-fact tone, as if he were making a routine business report. "Yes, everything is going according to plan. Leave the rest to me." After hanging up the phone, Andrew left, his footsteps heading toward the study. Waiting for that moment, I whispered to my son, "Nathan, don't move." Opening my eyelids slightly, I could see my son give a small nod. My clever child was following my instructions perfectly. The second hand of the living room clock ticked forward with cruel slowness. Car lights from Commonwealth Avenue occasionally shone through the windows. The street's usual comfortable bustle now only heightened the unusual tension. We lay there as if time had stopped. I could feel Nathan's small body trembling slightly, but he was enduring desperately. His courage brought tears to my heart. From the study came intermittent sounds of papers being put through a shredder. Between these sounds, Andrew's mobile phone conversations leaked through. "Yes, they are not moving anymore, the effect is certain." I felt my spine freeze. My husband was observing us from afar. He did not try to come closer to check. That was fortunate in our misfortune. Outside the window, the sun had completely set and darkness was deepening. The candle on the table was still quietly burning. Its light cast the shadows of the fallen mother and child on the wall as if foretelling the tragedy about to unfold. I could feel my husband's cold gaze occasionally thrown from the living room entrance onto my back. While holding my breath, I desperately tried to think, why would my husband plan this far? Was it just for the inheritance, or was there another reason? Next to me, I could feel Nathan's small body trembling slightly. As a mother, I felt both pride and guilt that an 8-year-old boy could maintain his composure in this extreme situation. I could see a single bead of sweat rolling down his forehead. He must be fighting against his fear. The air in the room gradually grew heavier. The food on the table had gone cold. What was once a symbol of our warm home had now become an instrument of poisoning. The shadows cast by the chandelier light created eerie patterns on the wall. The clock's second hand moved forward mercilessly, as if counting down the remaining time of our lives. Each time headlights from cars on Commonwealth Avenue illuminated the window, I prayed for someone to come help us. But the quietness of this luxury residential area would perfectly muffle our screams. Andrew's footsteps approached. I tightly closed my eyelids and regulated my breathing. He returned to the living room and stood there for a while. His presence loomed over us like a cold shadow. The husband who once showed me love had now transformed into a death god watching over our demise. Just a little longer. Andrew's voice muttering to himself. It was the voice of my husband of 10 years, yet simultaneously seemed like the voice of a stranger. The distant bells of Boston College added an eerie resonance to this nightmare-like reality. Lying on the floor, I concentrated all my attention on my husband's movements. The sound of the shredder from the study seemed to be cutting up our 10 years of memories. The sound of opening cabinet drawers, organizing documents. What these meant was clear. Andrew was rushing to destroy evidence. The large grandfather clock in the corner slowly struck 9 o'clock. Its weighty sound made this surreal situation even more pronounced. The street lights from Commonwealth Avenue shone through the window, casting our fallen shadows eerily on the wall. "Mom," Nathan's whisper was as faint as an exhale. With my eyes still closed, I tightly gripped his hand. "It is okay. Mom will definitely protect you." My smartphone was still left on the dining table. The screen was dark, but the recording app should have been active for the past 20 minutes. All of my husband's phone conversations, the sound of the shredder, everything should be recorded. Another gamble was the SOS message I sent to James before dinner. Struck by an ominous feeling, I had sent a brief message to my brother-in-law. "If you lose contact with me tonight, come to the house immediately." From the study came the sound of suitcase wheels rolling across the floor, then the sound of drawers opening and closing. He was clearly packing. Between these sounds, Andrew continued his phone conversations. "Yes, it will be over soon, but tomorrow morning everything will be taken care of." That voice contained not a trace of the warmth I once loved in my husband. I could feel Nathan's body trembling in small spasms. This situation was too harsh for an 8-year-old boy. Still, he perfectly followed my instructions. His courage filled me with pride and deep love. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. That sound instantly cut through the frozen air. Andrew's movements in the study stopped, then hurried footsteps. The sound of shoes descending the stairs echoed louder than usual. "Who could it be at this hour?" A voice tinged with irritation, different from his usual composed tone. Footsteps heading to the entrance. The sound of the door opening. "Andrew, what is wrong? Why are you not answering your phone?" It was James's voice, and he was not alone. Multiple shadows could be seen behind him. "James, why are you here, and who are these people?" Andrew's voice could not hide his agitation. I responded with a clear voice. I rose from the floor. Nathan stood up, following me. At the entrance stood James, along with 3 police officers. "Kate, Nathan, you both!" The blood drained from Andrew's face. "I knew about your plan from the start." I picked up my smartphone from the table. Its screen contained decisive evidence of my husband's crime, the suspicious shopping at Whole Foods Market, frequent calls with unknown numbers, and everything from tonight. "Kate, that is everything recorded, from the sound of you making the poisoned food to your phone conversations." James stepped forward. "Brother, your unusual behavior has concerned me for months. Your obsessive attitude about mother's inheritance and your relationship with Sarah Collins." "Wait, I can explain this." At that moment, Andrew's smartphone rang. We all saw the name displayed on the incoming call screen, Sarah Collins. The name of his young subordinate, and in his call history were records of repeated calls with her throughout tonight. "We know everything about your plans to move to Dubai with your young lover, using mother's inheritance, all of it." At James's words, Andrew's shoulders slumped. The memories of my flower shop that I wanted to protect, weekends playing baseball with our son, and the promise to my mother-in-law. Everything made sense in this moment. Outside the window, police sirens were approaching. Their sound rang discordantly through the quiet night on Commonwealth Avenue. Boston College's clock tower was striking 10 o'clock. No one else would die tonight. The bells of Sacred Heart Church rang in the distance, their sounds seeming to bless our salvation. Nathan clung to me, his small body still trembling, yet there was unmistakable relief in his eyes. "Madam, we will need to take your statement." I slowly nodded at the police officer's words. The chandelier light in the living room warmly enveloped us, as if predicting a bright future. James watched over us silently. His eyes held deep sadness but even more love. He had always been our family's true guardian. "Mother would be proud," he said quietly. I could not hold back my tears at his words. The family bonds that Eleanor had cherished were about to be reborn in a new form. The trees along Commonwealth Avenue rustled quietly in the night breeze. That night, in the Boston Police Station interrogation room, all the truth came to light. Night was falling outside, and the street lights on Commonwealth Avenue swayed gently. Nathan was receiving care from a child psychologist in the next room. Here are all the recorded conversations. When I handed my smartphone to the investigator, Andrew's fate was sealed. They said he was maintaining his silence in the adjacent interrogation room. However, there was already sufficient evidence. James explained the course of events with a heavy expression. "I first noticed something 3 months ago during a routine checkup at the hospital. I accidentally overheard Andrew's suspicious conversation. massive embezzlement at the accounting firm Mitchell and Associates, an affair with his young subordinate Sarah Collins, and plans to move to Dubai. His gambling debts exceeded $1 million, further inflated by collections of luxury sports cars and brand items. Eleanor's inheritance of $50 million was his solution to everything. The events of that night had actually been under close surveillance. After receiving my SOS message, James had coordinated with the police. An emergency medical team was also standing by in case of the worst. The interrogation continued until early morning, and we began temporary refuge at James's house. The following days felt like being in the midst of a storm. The arrests of Andrew and Sarah shocked the local community, and combined with the firm's embezzlement case, it was widely reported in local media. And now, 1 month later, at Cold Spring Park, in early summer, on the fresh green grass, Nathan was playing catch with James. Following our suggestion, the inheritance would be donated to Boston College's scholarship program. We knew Eleanor had a deep interest in supporting education during her lifetime. The Sacred Heart Church community continues to support us warmly. Nathan is continuing his weekly counseling, and we are receiving positive reports from his therapist. His grades at Ward Elementary School remain excellent, making me proud as his mother. "Hey, Mom." Nathan sat beside me, sweat glistening on his forehead as he carefully held his baseball glove. "Are you still scared of Dad?" The unexpected question made me pause for a moment, but looking into my son's clear eyes, I answered quietly, "No, I am not scared, because we have our real family, you, Uncle James, and Grandma in heaven." Today, as always, colorful flowers bloom in blooming days. The white Casablanca lilies no longer evoke sad memories. They have now become a symbol of new hope. Next weekend is an important game for Nathan's baseball team, the Newton Stars. As we watch from the stands, I am sure Eleanor's gentle gaze will be with us too. Sometimes family is not just about blood ties. I believe that true bonds grow stronger and deeper beyond these trials. Our new story has only just begun. Looking back on that night, I still feel a storm of emotions churning inside me. Shock, betrayal, rage, and an overwhelming gratitude that borders on disbelief. How could the man I loved for 10 years, the one who once looked at white Casablanca lilies with such genuine warmth and promised me forever, turn into a cold-blooded monster willing to murder his own wife and 8-year-old son? The thought alone makes my chest tighten, even now, months later. The deepest wound is the betrayal. Andrew didn't just poison our food, he poisoned every memory we shared. Those early years, the laughter in our kitchen, the way he'd lift Nathan onto his shoulders after a baseball game, the quiet evenings when he'd wrap his arms around me and whisper that I was his everything, now feel like a carefully rehearsed performance. I replay his smile that evening as he served the clam chowder, the way he watched us eat with that calm, detached expression, and I feel sick all over again. He wasn't just planning to kill us. He was erasing us, already imagining a new life in Dubai with Sarah Collins, funded by his mother's inheritance and the life insurance policies he'd quietly increased. The realization that I had become an obstacle in his path, rather than the love of his life, shattered something inside me that I'm still trying to rebuild. Then there's the terror, the raw, primal fear of lying motionless on the floor, pretending to be dead while my little boy trembled beside me. Nathan was so brave, so impossibly brave for an 8-year-old. I could feel his tiny hand shaking in mine, yet he never made a sound, never gave us away. In those endless minutes, all I could think was, I have to protect him. I cannot let this be how his childhood ends. The helplessness was suffocating, but it also ignited a fierce determination I didn't know I possessed. That maternal instinct became my anchor. It kept me clear-headed enough to remember the recording app on my phone, to trust my gut and send that desperate SOS to James. Anger comes in waves. I'm furious at Andrew for his greed, for gambling away our security, for embezzling from the firm he claimed to be proud of, for choosing luxury cars and a mistress over his family. But I'm also angry at myself for missing the signs earlier, the late nights, the sudden obsession with money after Eleanor's death, the way he stopped looking at me with real affection. I blamed work, stress, anything but the truth. How many times did I make excuses for him? That self-blame stings, but I'm learning to forgive myself. I was trying to hold our family together, he was the one tearing it apart. Yet amid the pain, there is profound gratitude. Gratitude for my own intuition that made me suspicious enough to start recording calls and tracking his strange purchases. Gratitude for James, my true brother in every way that matters, who never abandoned us, who saw through Andrew's facade and acted decisively when I needed him most. And gratitude for Nathan's resilience. Watching him laugh again on the baseball field, seeing him slowly open up in therapy fills me with hope I thought I'd lost forever. This ordeal stripped away the illusion of a perfect life and revealed what truly matters, the bonds we choose, not just the ones we're born into. Eleanor's love lives on in James's kindness and in the scholarship fund we created in her name. The flower shop that once reminded me of Andrew's charm now symbolizes rebirth. Every fresh bloom a reminder that beauty and strength can grow from the darkest soil. I'm not the same Kate who woke up that fateful morning. I'm stronger, wiser, and fiercely protective of the new family we're building. The nightmares still come sometimes, but they're fading. What remains is a quiet certainty: we survived, we exposed the truth, and we're moving forward into a future brighter than anything Andrew's lies could ever have offered us. Nathan deserves that future, and so do I.